This channel is supported by Truefire. Truefire is an online library of lessons from some of my favourite players. There's thousands of lessons on there. You can use the promo code JNC40 to get 40% off of any of their courses. So, I've been playing guitar. I started the video with the playing on around my birthday. And I was going to kind of do this video because I started playing guitar in 1997. Shout out in the comments if you weren't born yet, leave a comment below, but I imagine most of you were. 8th birthday in 1997, my dad gave me an Encore classical guitar, 3/4, for my birthday, and I learnt the chord D, which I used to play like that, right? And then he also taught me G. It was a Sunday. I guess we could check the stats on that if I look back at. I think it was a Sunday because I learnt that D, and then we went to church. I looked up what happened on April the 6th in 1997, and it turns out R. Kelly's "I Believe I Can Fly" was #1 in the UK, and guess who was #1 in the US? It was Puff Daddy. So a couple of guys there like to I'm not saying it. The journey of playing guitar has been a long one, but I think there is one thing which I would strongly advise trying to avoid, because it seems to me that this really helps you to totally miss the point. And I've got friends that I've talked to about this stuff, and in particular I've got a friend, it's his birthday today, Dan Carter, who used to play in some metal bands, as in he's in a band that have been... It's too much information. Anyway, so he had basically stopped playing guitar for a while. I think out of playing in bands and writing for bands and all that sort of stuff, like it's quite a frustrating world to be in general when you're trying to like get a band off the ground. Do you know what I mean? It can be really disheartening. And you just kind of, I think, fall out of love with it a bit. And he'd kind of not played guitar for years. I saw him at the Bill Murray gig and he just said, I've just picked up a guitar again. He's been sending me some videos of his playing and it's just like amazing stuff. And his right hand technique is like incredible and like incredibly relaxed and stuff like that. And Dan was always a great player, but I'm kind of surprised that you can put the guitar away for that amount of time, then come back and still like just look like you never stopped playing. And I guess what I've just been saying to Dan about it, and we kind of agreed on, is like it's so much different if you're just playing the guitar to enjoy it, and like there's not this over, you know, expectation on a bunch of stuff, and it's just like about not being a frustrated guitarist is basically the point of this. And so I kind of wanted to talk to you guys about this, if that's okay. am I as perfect as these guys? We're always going to be comparing ourselves to other people's playing. It's really easy to quickly fall into like a state of frustration. Now, as someone who doesn't have like tons of time to practice, I do still play guitar every day, but like the 7-hour practice days, those are long behind me. And it's an interesting thing, like my wife and kid went to Disneyland. I had some more time to kind of practice some stuff and play some stuff. It's kind of interesting what time can do for like that feeling of I'll explore something a bit different. But it's not always necessarily a hugely good thing, because you can just end up sort of wandering around. I've had a bit of pain in my left hand or something, not quite pain, but you know, that feeling where it's like something's going on here, and I think it stems back to just before the Nacho. I was carrying around a plastic bag and Elodie in the other hand, and you know, where you try and carry too much and like the hand was in a weird position, and I think I've been sort of dealing with something from that for a little while. And then you kind of like go for certain things and it's like, all right, you start to cramp up and it's like, oh, this is getting a bit tense, and frustration sort of starts to creep into your playing. Now, I think this is really where things can really start to, you know, like your timing can get a bit squiffy, you get tense, you get more frustrated. So what I'm trying to do is just be at peace with whatever I can do in the day, and try and be a bit more like water. And see what I can do, but not this super frustrated, like really trying to force, because I've seen this in my playing, right, where it's like this sort of thing starts to happen, and it's kind of like, well, that's not really good for man nor beast, and try and just get more into that Julian Lage type flow of when you see him, he's just kind of enjoying what is coming out of his. Right, that didn't work. And that's what I'm trying to get more towards. So this is definitely something as well that I've noticed hugely in my playing, which has changed, where I didn't used to play live very much, and in about 2015, 2016 is when I started to get a few of these gigs where I'd have to improvise solos. You get frustrated, you get like super in your own head, and what ends up happening is you just play like what you think might be the worst sounding solo ever, and then you look back at it and maybe it wasn't as bad as all that, or maybe it was, but you realise that it probably didn't matter as much as you thought it did. And if you go into these scenarios, like now I get to play like about once a month with Jake at the Ship In and stuff like that, and you just go into it with the mindset like, I'm just going to do my best to try and just enjoy this, kind of put aside the frustration and kind of just be in the moment and all of that sort of stuff. And it is way more enjoyable. Both myself and Jake's like 10 years younger, we still come away from these gigs like, you know, that wasn't as good as I'd hoped, or you know, I just felt like I was having an off night, or all of these sorts of things. But actually it's more about just trying to enjoy what time you've got, and that's definitely the same with practice and playing as well. And I try to take that into basically every day when I'm picking up the guitar. I don't have these massive expectations about what is going to happen. I just try to make sure that I'm here playing it and like having a go. Do you know what I mean? And this is one of those kind of things that's a little bit off-putting with social media sometimes, because you can follow these like amazing players and stuff. You know, these guys that are coming up now, like younger guys or whatever. You kind of forget that how it was that you would have done things back in the day, like where it was a case that you had like loads of time to just practice one thing for a specific video, and maybe get the perfect take like that one time, and then you'd upload it, and then I don't know what else you would do with the week, but it's kind of just important to try and remember that actually there's probably a bunch of frustration behind the scenes and a bunch of, you know, outtakes. There's a bunch of stuff where it didn't go perfectly right, and, you know, it's just remember that. And yeah, remembering that you don't have to be the fastest player in the world, you don't have to be the best player in the world. Some of your favourite players probably aren't able to do some of these other things that you see other people doing, but it's more about them keeping frustration out of their playing in the moment and in enabling it to sort of translate as something enjoyable. Do you know what I mean? So that's what I'm trying to do. You know, I did a jazz gig with my buddy Will Edmonds the other day, and kind of we both see ourselves as like frustrated jazz guitarists who maybe came at it a bit late to be like natural at it. You know, closet jazz musicians, you might call it. But you know, Will said to me, I feel like I play a bit more jazzy when I'm with you or whatever. And I was kind of like, yeah, actually, I'm taking a few more risks and just enjoying playing in a guitar duo setting and seeing what happens. It's like really enjoyable stuff when you're just trying, instead of, you know, letting frustration happen and stuff, just let it go and just carry on playing and see what happens. And yeah, I think that's it. Just instead of being frustrated about this stuff, try and pick up what you can, play it in the day. If you find something that really grabs your interest, try and work out what it is that's going on. And, you know, if that takes 10-20 minutes of your day and you get to try and translate something new onto your guitar, that's great. If you don't get that chance and you're just noodling through things you already knew, that's also great. I think there's so much like of this stuff where it's like you need to be, I don't know, getting to this next level or whatever, or, you know, getting out of a plateau. I think it's not about that for me at all. I think it's about trying to enjoy the moment where you're at. And if you do these things like day in, day out, you might find that in a few years' time, maybe you look back on what it is that you were struggling with before, you find maybe that's something you don't struggle with as much anymore, and just have like a set little sort of idea, right, what is it that I'm actually really interested in, and have like small little ideas of goals that you want to get better at, rather than like loads of bits and pieces, and trying not to kind of just be this frustrated person who's just going through and all of that, like knocking things over. You know, like if you're driving in an intense situation, like trying to drive through London, just adding frustration and making worse decisions and stuff like that probably doesn't help. Just try and chill out a bit and try and enjoy the process. You know, and find things that you really want to work on, and find things that you enjoy working on, and try and keep that frustration, keep that tension out of the stuff. And I think you'll find this whole guitar journey a bit more enjoyable. That's kind of where I'm at now after sort of 28 years of it. No one has to be able to play everything. No one even really has to play fast most of the time. Most kind of gigging situations and playing situations are about other sorts of skills. Pretty achievable, I think, for quite a lot of people. And you don't need to be frustrated about it. Just sit down and start trying to do the thing is I guess what I've learned. I don't know, let other people know your tips below about how you try and keep frustration out of your practice and all that stuff, because I think that is the key to actually wanting to pick up the guitar, is that you're not going, I picked it up and I wasn't able to do what I wanted to do, thinking maybe tomorrow I won't pick it up at all. Pick it up every day, enjoy it every day. I think that's the route to happiness.